Today we're going to be talking about the signs of a shady relationship. Relationships are really important. They're really the foundation of so many of our lives. And as a life coach, I see what can happen when relationships go sour, when parental relationships are built on power, when they're built on unfairness and narcissism. I see the devastation that happens when relationships between a parent and a child are absolutely dysfunctional. They go awry. When there is addictions like alcoholism present, children grow up feeling invisible. And there are so many consequences to growing up feeling like who you are as an individual on the inside is irrelevant. And when you're little, you don't understand that mommy has alcoholism or daddy has alcoholism. All you know, because you are a subjective thinker, you're not a critical thinker, all you know is that you need something, which is love. You feel driven to bond with these people, and you're not able to make that connection happen. So you're not nurtured enough. Even if you have a white picket fence, even if you've got a 2-car garage, even if you go to nice schools, and it is not obvious that you're not experiencing what you need to experience as a little child, and you're not gaining what you need, you're still missing out. You're still going to grow up with all sorts of like abandonment trauma issues, attachment trauma issues possibly, which will manifest in lots of the cases as codependency. The fear that you are not good enough, carrying around the shame like it's your fault that you weren't able to connect to these people that you loved. When these relationships go awry, children feel like it's their fault that these relationships go awry. But the opposite is also true. If you were raised by parents who were emotionally mature, who were responsible, who were non-codependent, who were healthy, who knew how to validate themselves, validate their partners, who were fair-minded, who had a decent amount of emotional intelligence, so they understood that they were part of a family system and that the needs of the child were very important, and that emotionally their children needed to feel seen and supported. And they weren't overpraised, they weren't overindulged, because that teaches entitlement. That teaches a child to believe that they're actually better than another child. That's not helpful. But if you were raised by emotionally immature parents and you had really strong relationship bonds with the people who raised you, then you feel pretty secure in yourself. You feel like you have a self. You're not needing to be taught, which is what I teach, how to have a self and how to connect to the self. Pretty much that's what I do for people. I help people who have grown up feeling invisible, who lack a sense of self, redirect and find the road back to themselves. So I can see how if you grew up in a healthy home and you got everything that you needed, which is very rare to have parents who make no mistakes. Parents are not parents before they become parents. And so there's bound to be mistakes. And it's unfortunate that children really suffers in those situations when parents make mistakes. I have made a ton of mistakes, and I can see how my immaturity, my codependency, how my childhood trauma even affected my children. And you don't know what you don't know. And you can never be aware that you're unaware of something until the moment you become aware that you were unaware. And so I guess we all get wounded in this life, and it's just a matter of how wounded and how self-aware we are, and are we the types of people that want to grow and somehow make our lives better. So relationships are really, really important. And it's important that we learn how to observe red flags rather than deny them, rather than rationalize them away, which is what a narcissist wants you to do. A narcissist wants you to just forget about a red flag. They will minimize your experience of the red flag. They will suggest that you are crazy, They will suggest that you didn't hear what you heard. If you poke too much, they'll threaten to leave you. They'll threaten to lie about you. They'll suggest that you're actually crazy. And behind the veil, or actually behind the scenes, you won't know that you're dealing with a narcissist who has been triangulating you. They have been suggesting to your family and to your friends that you're off, that there's something not right. Of course, they do it with like love and compassion, and they act like they care about you, but they're already planting the seeds in the minds of the people that you love, in the minds and the hearts of the people that you know. They're already beginning to lay the foundation for, it's not me, it's her. Like she's crazy or he's crazy. And so you don't know that when you're dealing with somebody who has high narcissistic traits. You know, when you first meet a narcissist, the chemistry is off the charts. You're not aware that you're being lured in. They encourage you to tell them all about your traumatic past, and you do. For this person who you assume is asking you about your traumatic past because they're going to hold it near to their vest or their chest, and they're going to protect you because that's something that you would do. That's something that someone who has high empathy would do. You tell me your secret, I'm dying with that secret. I would never tell anyone your secret because I know what that feels like, and I would be uncomfortable inflicting that type of emotional pain on you, especially if I know you trusted me. Not so with a covert narcissist. Not so with an overt narcissist. Nothing is off the table because they lack that ability to have an emotional response to someone else's wounds. And if you trigger them, then they're coming for you. And that's why I always say, don't roll in the mud with the pig. They like it. I think Ross Rosenberg uses that also. Don't get in the boxing ring with Muhammad Ali. He's going to whoop your butt. Like, you just don't do certain things, right? So it's important that we recognize that relationships are important, and the goal really is to have an amazing relationship with someone eventually. And as hokey pokey as it sounds, and as self-helpish as this sounds, the quality of your external relationships really hinge on the quality of the relationship that you have with the self. Now, in order to have a relationship with the self, you have to have a self. You have to literally have a mental and cognitive experience of a self, an inner essence. It's sort of like you love your car because you have this concept, there's my car. You love your dog, there's my dog. You love your house, you love your pillow, you love your teeth, whatever it is. It's something that your mind says, oh, there it is, it's tangible. I'm supposed to love that thing and take care of that thing. Well, when you have been dishonored as a child, devalued as a child, when you have been emotionally neglected as a child and or abused as a child, then the self that you have, you are not connected to. What you have associated with the self, unfortunately, is shame. Whatever you think yourself is and how you hear your mind thinking about the self is negative. I'm not good enough. Good things never happen for me. I'm broken. This is as good as it's going to get. Who do I think I am? I have no value. There's nothing special about me. I have no talents. I have no gifts. I have nothing to offer the world, which is not true, by the way. It's just how you feel because your external experience has caused you to have that perception of yourself because that is the perception you experienced. The people outside of you did not treat you like you were unique, like you were special, like you had innate talents. They didn't treat you like your emotions were significant. You were treated with indifference, or love was conditional. It was based on merit. It was based on what you did for other people. You got validation perhaps when you pretended to be happy when you weren't. And so you were taught, if that was the case, that the best thing to do is to ignore the self than it is to really be authentic with the self. So you might feel like yourself is unworthy. It's not true because at your core you are, we all are. However, that doesn't mean that you're programming. The subconscious mind hasn't been downloaded to believe that you're unworthy. If beliefs dictate our reality, then you have to understand that your beliefs can be wrong. In other words, like you can feel like you're unworthy. You can feel like you have nothing to offer the world. And that can feel very, very real to you because it's a belief. But a belief is just something that you've been thinking over and over and over and over and over. And the way that you move about life, it's a state of being. And then that state of being, unfortunately, gets reinforced. And so you don't put yourself out there. You don't have the confidence to do it. And so you settle for toxic relationships. And then you hook up perhaps with the narcissist who now knows all of your secrets. And now the fear is they're going to tell people about your secrets. And don't think they won't. They will. And they may even make things up too. This is what a narcissist does. They don't have that line in the sand that they won't cross. They will cross that line in the sand, absolutely. And so there's a lot of fear when you're ending a relationship with a narcissist. If you've become financially dependent upon a narcissist, this is tough stuff to just get up and leave. It doesn't happen that way. We have to start with the basics. We have to recognize that we have a self. We have to find our way back to regrounding ourselves so that we can look at things more logically, more realistically, and less through the emotional lens. A narcissist abuses us in the realm of emotions. And so you have to keep that in mind. A narcissist is not going to want to talk to someone who is a fact checker. A narcissist is not going to want to talk to somebody who has boundaries. A narcissist is not going to want to talk to someone who practices mindfulness, self-balance, self-correction, and who is able to observe an emotion and doesn't react to it. That is just so key. I think that's what we're all trying to do as human beings, is to learn how to observe an emotion, respond to the emotion, and not react to the emotion. I like to use this analogy. When you look at the check engine light on the dashboard of your car, you know that that light is not your car. That light isn't even the problem. It's an indicator. It wants you to look at something. It's trying to get your attention. It's the same thing with an emotion. An emotion is an indicator. What's going on here? It's a warning sign. It means you need to look at something. As human beings, what we do is that we have an emotion, our body responds to that emotion, and then we react. Our behaviors react. So there's no space for us to really recognize, like, wait a minute, I've just been triggered. I'm feeling all sorts of anxious, but I am not my anxiety. You're not even in the relationship. You are the observer of the relationship and how the relationship is affecting you. What effect does this relationship have on you? You are not the relationship. So that's an important differentiation to make. It's important to see that. So I think that we have to understand that having a self and having a relationship with the self is paramount. And once we start grounding ourselves and start staying in our own lane, and we start observing our emotions, and we start getting a little bit more logical and rational about what's happening in our relationship. And one of those thoughts is, am I happy or am I unhappy? Is this relationship helping me grow? Is it keeping me stuck? Or am I devolving as a human being? These are the types of questions you ask yourself to create that space. Now, once you're able to answer those questions, you're in a close proximity to the self. Like, oh, there I am. I am acknowledging that I'm unhappy. There I am. I am acknowledging that this is a toxic relationship. There I am. Without doing that, without asking yourself those questions, it's really difficult to understand or to be more objective about your relationship. So finding the self, coming home to the self, is very important as you're trying to figure out or decide or decipher whether or not your relationship is shady. If you're super reactive and you're dealing with somebody who wants to take you up and then drop you and take you down, this is because this person does their best dark magic in the emotional realm. Narcissists, toxic people, psychopaths, sociopaths, they don't want you thinking logically. They don't want you thinking rationally. They want to trigger you. They want to help you feel less than. They accuse you of things that you're not guilty of. They threaten you. They try to intimidate you. And while they're standing really, really close to you and they're intimidating you, and you're saying, please back away, you're frightening me, they're telling you that you're crazy because you feel frightened by them. You cannot win. This is crazy making. This is absolutely crazy making. And so it's important that you recognize that one of the most crucial things that you can do for yourself is to ground yourself and to try to squelch your emotions so that you're not super reactive to what's happening in your experience, so that you can stay logical and rational about what's happening. So coming back to the self is step one. And learning to be less emotional about what is happening so that you can be logical and reasonable about your relationship is step two. Because at that point, now you've got a little bit of space. You've got some objectivity going on. And now you can recognize the symptoms that your relationship might be shady. If you're too emotional, you're not going to be able to, in my opinion, you're not always able to recognize the signs for what they are or the red flags for what they are. If you're dealing with a psychopath, a sociopath, a pathological liar, a narcissist, someone who is an opportunist, someone who is used to taking advantage of people who have vulnerabilities and exploit them, then you might be running around with chasing your tail, which is what this type of predator type of personality is going to want to do. I've coached people whose narcissistic wives have said to them, oh, you're gay, and the husband is like, I'm not gay. Like, where's she getting that from? Anything to throw the person that's being abused into a tailspin. I've had women send me videos of their husbands like screaming at them, just centimeters away from their nose, and like grabbing them by the back of their hair and screaming at them. And the wife is in terror, and the husband's calling the wife crazy and saying that I'm not a narcissist, you're a narcissist, right? So it's mind-boggling when we're dealing with personalities that are predator type personalities and whose agenda it is to keep you feeling emotionally inferior, emotionally dependent upon them, and really just emotionally overwhelmed so that you can't think rationally and logically. And that's why I like having sessions like this, because to me, learning about signs, like, oh, I can see that sign, it just puts a little space between you and whatever emotion that you're feeling. And it does help to bring clarity. So I hope that this list helps you. So some of the signs that your relationship is shady that you need to pay attention to and detach emotionally from if you're experiencing this is your partner suddenly has a change in behavior. So you're dating someone and things were going great. If they started off like too strong, that's a red flag in and of itself. But let's just say that you started off fine and you have a consistent flow happening. You know when this person texts you, when they call you. So you have a routine. And this person behaves a certain way. And all of a sudden, there's a change in that routine. They don't text you. They don't call you. But even then, not cause for too much of an alarm. But you're just noting like, oh, that's different. You're discerning. You're not judging like, oh, I'm just noting that this is a little different. And then when you're with your partner, maybe they're suddenly a little bit cold, or they're suddenly aloof, but there's definitely been a change in their behavior. So that's a sign that something might be awry in your relationship. Or they ghost you, right? So you have intense love bombing and then suddenly they disappear. Like they don't talk to you and you have no clue like what happened. Everything was just great. They give you the silent treatment and then they're gone. And so obviously that's a sign that your relationship is shady. That's a huge that's a huge red flag. Somebody hit the fire alarm on that one. Do not ignore that one, dear one. So another red flag, the way they speak to you has changed. They were attentive in the beginning of the relationship, or over time they were attentive, but now they're more dismissive. They're more short with you. They used to laugh at your jokes, and now they're like, that's not funny. Why do you think that's funny? So there's a change in the way that they speak to you, which even includes their tone and their level of attentiveness. So rather than get jacked up about it, notice it. Rather than get emotional about it, notice it. The next thing, they start arguments over literally nothing, and they use that argument as an excuse to leave the apartment or leave the home or to leave you at dinner. So again, this is one of those don't ignore this. This is a sign that your relationship is quite shady. So everything's going fine. You and your partner are just talking, hanging out, and out of nowhere, they have this emotional outburst. And you're like scratching your head like, what did I say? See if there's this much of a shift in their behavior, see if you can hold on to yourself and not get emotional. See if you can just observe what's happening outside of you. And then after the person leaves, ask yourself, how do I feel about what just happened? Because lots of times when we're emotional in a situation and we're attached to someone, like we are in the case of a narcissist or a sociopath or a psychopath, or it's just we're attached to someone. Relationships are about healthy attachments, hopefully, but we can have unhealthy attachments like trauma bonds. We don't always ask ourselves, wait a minute, how do I feel about what he just said? Or how do I feel about what she just accused me of? Or how do I feel about the way she just spoke to me in front of our children? How do I feel about him giving me the silent treatment? So bring it back to how do I feel? The next thing that you might notice if your relationship is shady, or one of the signs that your relationship is shady, is that they lie about facts. Right? And they lie about what happened in the past. And they lie about not only what happened, but let's say you recall something that happened in the past, they begin to rewrite history. They begin to devalue your experience. So let's say your partner cheated on you in the past. And if you don't have a partner who's willing to give you the space to explore exactly how that made you feel, a full range of emotions regarding betrayal, if that person who cheated on you isn't able to give you that much freedom in the relationship, you're not going to be able to survive the infidelity. But a sign that your relationship is shady and that it's in trouble is if, let's say in this situation, something happened in the past. And when you recall it, your partner begins to minimize your experience. Try not to get emotional. Try to pay attention to what just happened. You've been marginalized and devalued. History is being rewritten. This is going to trigger you emotionally, which is what a predator type personality is going to want to do. They render you helpless emotionally. They want you running around in circles so that you never leave, so that they can continue to drain your energy, so they can draw off your energy. It is to their advantage to be in love with or to be in a relationship with someone who is this vulnerable, who is this kind. Because when you're this vulnerable and you're this kind and you react when someone hurts you like this, chances are you don't have that in you to hurt them. And so sure, a predator is going to want a kind, empathic, vulnerable person in their life who would never treat them the way the narcissist treats them. And so be careful about that. The next thing, there's rumors that your boyfriend or your girlfriend, your husband or your wife is having an affair. If someone's not cheating on you, chances are there aren't going to be rumors that they are. They're not going to be seen where they shouldn't be, right? They're not going to be hanging out with men or women that they shouldn't be hanging out with. So that's a sign that your relationship is shady. Another thing that is a sign is that they start getting funny with their phone. Like they used to leave their phone on the kitchen counter when you two were cooking dinner or when they went to the bathroom, and suddenly like they can't let go of their phone. Like that is change in their behavior. So that's a sign that there might be something going on in your relationship. You never meet their friends. That's another sign that this is another sign that your relationship is shady. You hear all about these friends or they talk about new people that they've met, but you never meet them. So they keep you away from their friends. Another sign the relationship is shady is that you never get to date at their place. So they have a place, and maybe, the person continually wants to pick you up at your place, but You never get to see where they live. You never get invited over. Something's up with that. Unless they're a hoarder and their house is a mess, which could be possible, there's really no reason for someone not to invite you to their place. Sure, someone could be ashamed of their place or embarrassed about where they live, but that should be discussed openly. But if you are dating someone for months, a year, and you're never getting invited to their place, something's up with that. Another sign, you catch them in lies. Usually where there's smoke, there's fire. There have been studies that prove that most people do lie, but they're little white lies, right? So they're lies to avoid hurting someone's feelings. You want to cancel a doctor's appointment, or you're changing doctors, or you're changing massage therapists, and you really don't like the massage therapist you're going to. And rather than say, listen, I think you're horrible, you're the worst masseuse I've ever encountered in my life, and I'm trying a different masseuse, good luck with that. You know, you might say, listen, you know what, I don't have the money anymore, and I've decided that I'm just going to give my massages a break right now. So you're lying, but it's a little white lie, and it's really so you don't have to hurt the other person's feelings, and you're looking to avoid uncomfortable feelings. Is it the best thing to do? Probably not. And there are people who really believe in radical truth. I get that. But most of us tell white lies. But what I'm talking about is like you're catching your partner in lies that matter. Like, where were you? Who are you with? What time did you get home from work? What are you doing after you drop me off from dinner? These matter. These things matter. If you're supposed to be in a committed relationship, then you catch your partner saying, oh, I'm going to go home, I'm going to take a bath, get ready for work the next morning, and you are on Twitter and you see that your partner is hanging out at a bar somewhere, that lie matters. So where there is smoke, there's usually fire. The sign is that they have friends of the opposite sex and they say that she's like a sister to him. But when you see them together, she's sitting on his lap, she's being all cutesy with him. They go on dates together, but it's just like a sister to him. Or your girlfriend says, I have all guy friends, and there's nothing wrong with me going to a bar and hanging out with all my guy friends. But these guy friends kiss her hello, they flirt with her, they're flirtatious with her, and you get the feeling like this is more than just, a brotherly relationship. I'm uncomfortable with it. You should really trust your instincts, because me personally, I've dated people who have told me, oh, she's like a cousin to me. Yeah, right, okay? You slept with her 6 years ago. You don't sleep with your cousin in most situations. I know some people do. But you slept with your cousin or someone that you feel is like a cousin 6 years ago, and I'm supposed to be okay with that because she's still in your crew? I am not okay with that. Another sign that your relationship is shady is that they flake on you. And so they make plans with you, and then out of the blue, they cancel on you. And you get some ridiculous excuse like, oh, my phone died, or I cracked my phone, I was at Verizon all day. There's always an excuse. So there's this pattern of flaking on you, and the excuse is completely lame. That's a sign that your relationship is shady. Another sign is that their stories are so exaggerated. Like, it's never like something simple. It's always over the top. I got pulled over on the highway by these people and I had to do some jujitsu on them, and I beat them to a pulp, and that's why I wasn't able to pick you up on time, or whatever. Their stories are always exaggerated. It's never a simple story. It's always like hard to believe. It almost like they're telling you stories as if they watched a movie, and this is the excuse that they give you. And when you call them out on it, like, wow, that sounds hard to believe, you are just completely annihilated for not trusting their story. But you'll get the feeling, if you're in a relationship with someone who's shady, you'll get the feeling that their stories are untrue. You can't prove them, right? So they say they speak 5 languages. You only speak 1. How do you prove that this person speaks 5 languages, right? Or this person says that they've traveled all over the world. Well, if you don't have access to their passport, how do you prove that? These things might be true, but what you'll notice in a shady relationship is that the stories feel extremely exaggerated. And they're usually the victim of something. And so pay attention to that. You can't prove their stories correct, and the stories are created in that way so that you cannot disprove them. And so that's a sign that you're dealing with a shady person and your relationship is shady. Another sign that your relationship is in trouble is that you're the one that's pulling the relationship along. So you're the one in the relationship where your partner is always making you wrong. You're lazy, you don't want to do anything. Meanwhile, you're the only person that works in the family, or you're the only person that makes plans, or you make plans and he or she, poo-poos the plans. Why do you want to go there? Why do you want to do that thing? So you can't do anything right. And the engine of the relationship is you. So you go to bed racking your brain, how can I make this person happy? You come up with an idea and this person shoots it down. So you're like frustrated. You can't figure out like how to make this person happy. Then you come up with another idea. Well, maybe we should go out to dinner here. They have a problem with that. Or you go out to dinner and they poo-poo the restaurant. And so you just get this feeling like this person is insatiable. Like you're never going to be able to do anything right. And so you are the engine of the relationship. You are the person that's trying to make it work. You are the person that's getting up and conscientious about making plans and about doing what you think is right. And you feel like you've got dead weight. And no matter what you do, it's never enough for this person. And so that's a sign that you're in a shady relationship. And or this person is just trying to make you wrong. Now, in some cases, when you're dealing with people who have this type of persona, that's because they're doing something shady. And so they're causing problems at home so that you're not looking at what's really going on behind closed doors. And sometimes people do this because they don't want to be in a relationship with you any longer. And so instead of just breaking it off, they're doing something shady. And so they can't be close to you. They can't create intimacy. And so creating these types of problems inside the relationship is where this manifestation occurs, this lack of intimacy, this lack of interest in the relationship. Or what's going on behind closed doors, the deception and what have you is manifesting in this type of behavior from the shady person. Another sign is that they insult you for no reason. Like out of nowhere, you're minding your own business and they have to insult you. They insult the way you cook. They insult the way you put the baby's diaper on. They insult the way you mowed the grass. They insult the way you drive. It's just like they insult the way you put the milk back in the refrigerator. It's like, come on, right? As a partner, you're not supposed to feel like your partner is against you. You're not supposed to feel like you have an adversary. You're supposed to feel like your partner's got your back. But if this is a change in behavior, especially if you have a partner who was encouraging and all of a sudden they start insulting you, something's up. It's time to pay attention to that. The last thing is that they won't add you as a friend on Facebook or accept you on Instagram. So they have a private account and you're never accepted. And there's always an excuse for why they haven't accepted you as a friend or whatever. So you just know that there's an attempt to keep you off their social media. So these are signs that your relationship is shady, something has happened in your relationship with your partner, and at a minimum, these are signs that you need to address something and address them quickly. In some cases, you might be able to salvage your relationship. In some cases, it might be that this is the beginning of the end. But whatever you do, if you are in a relationship, make sure that you're not allowing the situation itself or your partner to keep you on an emotional roller coaster. The goal is to find balance and peace within yourself so that you can have adult, mature conversations about how you feel with yourself as well as with your partner. My name is Romano. I'm the Breakthrough Life Coach and Bestselling Author. And if you'd like to listen to one of my books for free, you can do so by clicking the link below in the description box. If you'd like to learn more about building better boundaries, if you'd like to learn more about how you can heal from codependency and really change your life around, or if you would like to participate in my on-demand 12-week breakthrough coaching program, you can do this by clicking the links in the description box. If you're in a tough relationship or if you're in relationship loops of dysfunction, you're doing something wrong. And I've created products that can help you figure out what that something wrong is and how you can get your life back on track and primarily find the road back to you. I want to say, everybody, be careful out there and don't forget to think. Bye for now. If you love this content, check out the next video and don't forget to click the link below so you can take the codependency quiz. If you think about a narcissistic family wants to be seen as better than the neighbors. So there's this competition between them and other people. And so it's your job, dear one, if you're their child, to make them look good.